So P-Rod's gonna tell us some tips that you can take with you if you're a skate park owner.
What's up everyone, this is Brett at Start Your Skate Business, and guys, I got some really exciting news. This past week, I was able to meet Paul Rodriguez and we talked about skateboarding and what it takes to own an indoor skate park. So in this video, we're gonna be listening in to what P-Rod says to me, and then also I'm gonna be sharing my experiences of owning an indoor skate park at the same exact time. So bear with me, I'm a little under the weather today, so my voice is a little scratchy. So let's get into it. Paul has been one of my favorite skaters since I was a kid. Watching him hit massive milestones from video parts to X Game and SLS gold medals to building businesses has had a huge impact on me. I grew up watching his video parts in City Stars, In Bloom, Yeah Right, Me, Myself and I, and so many more. He's even made moves outside of skating with projects like Street Dreams. On top of that, he spent over 2 decades on Nike SB with 10 signature shoes. And today, he's the founder of Primitive Skateboarding, one of the biggest brands in the industry. Beyond skating, he's an entrepreneur and investor who continues to shape the skateboarding culture in a big way.
Here with one of the best skateboarders in the world, my favorite entrepreneur in the world, P-Rod.
What's up? How we doing?
So P-Rod's gonna tell us some tips that you can take with you if you're a skate park owner.
I was just telling my man here, if you're a skate park owner, you know, it's historically been really tough to just have a skate park that sustains itself financially because, you know, if you don't own the building, then the rent is expensive.
So Paul immediately opens up and says, whether you are renting or you're owning the building, and that just shows you his entrepreneurship experience just by saying that, just where his mindset is. So if you are renting the building, there's nothing wrong with that. I rent my building and buildings in the past with my skate parks, and they have been successful. But you have to remember that every month you are paying rent, and when you pay rent, that money is gone forever. Now, if you own the building, which should always be the goal, and that is currently my goal, to own the building where my skate park is at, or own a new building. And with that, now you are paying your mortgage down, and every month you gain more equity within the building that you own. Also, the great thing about it is that now you own the building, so any improvements you do just adds value to the building. So if you need to add air conditioning to it, I have done that to the building that I rent in, and the air conditioning unit costs $10,000, and it would be much better if I owned the building and put in $10,000 air conditioning unit in. However, at that time, my programs needed it, but hey, I'm not trying to justify it right now. So we're gonna go into a little something else.
You know, if you don't own the building, then the rent is expensive. The cost to build out the skate park is expensive. Employees, insurance, all those type of things are pretty expensive. And depending on your location, where you are in the country, it could be a little challenging just to survive off the skate park.
All right, so now Paul mentions the major expenses and what to expect, and they're the build out, the employees, and the insurance. And I can't agree anymore. The build out alone is going to cost a ton. So my build out for my skate park, just to give you some numbers, cost around like $75,000. And that is on the cheap side. I got some discounts, I had partnerships, and I was also there sinking the screws in. The price for materials, it's really expensive. And then also what you can do to get an idea of how much it will cost if like you want a company, a professional company to come in and do it, would be, most construction companies do this. It's their materials and then times their materials by 3, and then that's going to give you their labor cost. It might not be 3, it might be like 2.5 or 3. But typically that is going to be the labor cost. So add those 2 numbers together, and you got what it costs to have a build out at your skate park. So keep that in mind. And not to mention, this doesn't include any renovations that you have to do. If you want to do a skate shop in there, if you need an office, which most likely you will, it doesn't include any of the security, the cameras, internet, all this other stuff that comes with it. We're just talking about the skate park, nothing else. Now let's go into employees. So I've spent between closer to 100K plus $100,000, over $100,000 annually, to sometimes as low as $40,000 annually. So it just varies, and it depends on just the amount of things that are going on at your skate park. The things for me were programs, and I had lots of programs going on, and I had programs going on at my skate park, at outdoor skate parks all over the place. So of course my payroll is going to be higher. Doesn't necessarily mean my profit will be higher, it just means my payroll is higher. So these are numbers that you do have to monitor when you are a skateboard or a skate park owner. Now, let's go into insurance. Paul mentioned insurance is going to be a big part of your expenses. I have paid between $7,000 annually up to $18,000 annually for my skate parks. So it really varies based upon the volume, the amount of revenue that you are creating, because your insurance companies look at it as, if your business is generating more money, then that just means there's more people coming to your skate park, which also means that there's more exposure for injury. So now your insurance will be higher just because you are exposed to more injuries. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that when you are completing your insurance application form, is to make sure that your numbers are completely accurate, or as close as accurate as possible, and that you're not lying to get a cheaper insurance rate. That is the absolute last thing you want to do, because if you do that, you will get audited. It's common that insurance companies do audit you and see how much money you are actually making. And if you are making more than the money that you said that you will, then you are going to get a fine. You're going to have to pay a fine, which is probably a few $1,000s. And then you're going to have to pay the back charge of the difference between what you paid and what you should have been paying. So that's all going to hit all at once, and it could be a good amount of money. It could be, $10,000 at least. So just keep that in mind. That's just a little tip when you are completing your insurance form. But yeah, just going over everything again. Build out. The expenses are the build out, employees, and insurance.
So I was suggesting to him that you can add some other elements. Like, for sure you want to have like skate lessons or skate camps, for sure, to bring and involve the young kids and keep them engaged. After school programs, and definitely things to help engage the parents. So when the parents are driving the kids to go skate, instead of them just being bored and sitting there and then eventually not wanting to bring their kids because they got nothing to do something for dad. Like, I don't know if you can open up a little bar or have a little snack area where dad can sit, have a drink, get some food, or like a place for mom to hang out, whether it be like, I'm just throwing it out there, get her nails done or whatever, I don't know. But something that you can engage the parents in so they can have something to do while the kids are skating and having fun.
All right, so now Paul is talking about having multiple revenue streams and not relying just on people coming in to skate at your skate park. That's saying that if you build it, they will come is not reality, and that does not exist. Trust me, I know firsthand, and I'm sure if you ask any other skate park owner, they will tell you the same thing. So we have to have multiple streams of revenue, which Paul mentions that there's programming, there is programming such as private lessons and camps. And those are the two biggest ones that I've really focused on: camps, classes, and then of course the private lessons. And at first I was honestly really against doing any type of programming because skateboarding felt so sacred to me, and I put so many, and really just as a person, and that is, I said this in previous videos, where I always felt like you had to pay to play. So like when I started skating, it was many years ago where it was not cool, so I got picked on for skating, and then as a skater I was just an outcast, an outsider. Me and my friends, we were outsiders. There was no skate parks that we got kicked out of everywhere. And then you go into the physical part of skateboarding, you're falling nonstop. It's really, really hard to learn, especially when there is no instructor, when there's no skate parks, when there's like no foam padding where you can land on if you're like learning how to do a new trick. It's just really like you just fall and you just get hurt a lot. And I thought by doing lessons that I was allowing someone into my world with by having like an easy pass, like just going right through like the speed lane, I call it. So that's the reason why I was against lessons until I started doing them, and it really changed my perspective of how skateboarding can impact people's lives in a positive way other than the way I was introduced to it. So also Paul mentions that you can create a parent-friendly space. This is also really important, and I'm going to share with you an example of my experience where when the parents were not engaged, that their kids left. There was declining of enrollments because parents were not comfortable in my space. So this happened during COVID 2020, and then 2021 when there was still like that 6 feet social distancing. And I remember some of the parents would come in, and a lot of the times we made this rule actually that parents were not allowed in the skating section. Parents just had to wait in the car And now parents are 100% not engaged at all in what their child is doing. And I watched the decline of people enrolling. And over time, like even more recently, like only about like a year ago, that rule that we had continued. We still kept that rule of parents are not allowed in during the programming. One, because like parents were distracting the kids. However, we needed to separate the parents, but still make a comfortable atmosphere for them, such as what Paul has said, and make it where they are completely separated from where we're teaching, but still have their own section where they can relax, have a TV, so if they want, and with cameras, so that the parents can actually watch the kids skateboard while they are kind of just hanging out. To be honest, I really feel like Skatepark of Tampa does this really, really well, just because they have that huge space and they have like the spectator spot. And then also they do have another little section in the back where there is a bar, where there is food and whatnot, and a pool table. Obviously not many companies or skate parks are like that and can have that, but that is something that stands out to me, and that was always a goal for me to have something similar to Skatepark of Tampa. But also Skatepark of Tampa owns the building. Also, just to go into it a little bit more, so I wanted parents to come in and watch their kids skateboard, not only to show how much fun that their kids are having and how much like they're learning and how fast they're learning, but I needed the parents to see my instructors as teachers and hear how my instructors talk to the kids, because we are talking to them as we are teachers. We're not just like their buddy, like, yo, go drop in, you can do it. We're not doing that. We're building up their confidence, and we're really using keywords to help them out and identify issues and then to resolve them. So parents need to see that, because that's what they're going to connect to, and that's why they're going to keep bringing them back. So as a business standpoint, I want them to see how our instructors are talking to their kids. And then also, of course, as just entertainment and whatnot, I want them to see their kids having fun, but also most importantly, like in a comfortable environment for them. So even if they don't want to watch, that they can pull out their laptop and get some work done. They can watch some TV. As Paul said, get something to eat, have coffee, do something, but you need to make it comfortable for the parent. And that's something that I feel like many skate parks neglect.
Yeah, maybe even a little skate shop in there, of course, snack shop, just other elements that can help bring in revenue to support the skate park revenue. Because I don't think the revenue stream of just a skate park is enough to be like financially sustainable. And you don't even have to own the snack bar or the little shop or whatever. You can have the space and rent it out to somebody else who wants to do it, so that you're just collecting that rental revenue. But you gotta get creative, that's all I'm saying.
So Paul mentions having a skate shop within the skate park, and I think that's a really great idea. That's something that I have. I have really just the main things, the core items that I know my clients need. I don't need to have 30 different decks of, with 10 different brands. Just give me 2-3 brands and I'm cool with that. And I don't need a giant selection of bearings or a giant selection of different color bolts and hardware, because it's just for my core people that are coming there for a program, and I'm getting them set up so that they can have a board. So just know your clients. I mentioned that before in another video, but know your clients and what you know you can sell, because the last thing you want to do is have product just laying around because no one wants that design. And then you have to mark it down where you're actually just you might be making negative amount of money on a board or something like that. So keep that in mind. And also, this is one part that I really like that Paul says at the very end. He even took a minute to think about it. He said, you can actually have someone else run the skate shop. You can sublease your space and have someone else come in and run the skate shop. I wish I thought about that years ago. I wish I did. I probably wouldn't even have opened a skate shop. And thinking about that now, like, that's actually not a bad idea. I still want to do that right now. I think it's a great idea. Just having someone else run your skate shop. One, it's a less of a headache that you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about ordering things, fulfilling things. Let someone else do it and you collect the rent. The main thing that Paul is really hitting at from the beginning and then at the very end was owning ownership. If you own the building and you make the call, so you're owning the building of the skate park, you make the calls, you're building equity, you're adding value to the property. And then at the very end, he's talking about owning and leasing and subleasing to another place so you can have another revenue stream. So multiple revenue streams, that's going to be your driving factor, and getting your expenses as low as possible. Those two things are super important. And let's just go over those fixed expenses that you need to lower as much as possible, which is going to be your lease, your employees, and your insurance and your build out. You want to minimize that as low as possible that you can. And then the revenue drivers, those are going to be your youth programs, your camps, your lessons, shop partnerships, such as subleasing. And that is going to be the revenue drivers. And at some point, whether you're starting out and you're in the planning phase, or if you're just already in the middle of everything, you're already established, but you should always be thinking about ownership and how you can go from renting to owning. And that is how you will create long-term success without burning yourself in debt. All right, guys, so that's all I got. It was amazing meeting P-Rod, talking about business and entrepreneurship, and man, did I take away a lot. I had to rewatch this video and take some notes about it, and really got to learn a little bit more about owning an indoor skate park, even though I have owned an indoor skate park for over 2 decades. But Paul really drives some big factors here. Talking about ownership, man, that is really like the key there. And then having additional revenue streams, that is super cool. If you got value out of this like I did, please like and subscribe, share it with other people so that we can help create more skate parks or more skate businesses and more skate entrepreneurs. Now, as you know, starting a business is going to be hard. Starting a indoor skate park is extremely tough, but it is doable because anything you do is going to be hard, especially starting any type of business. So like and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. I would love to see what you have to say. And then also, if you have any video recommendations that you want me to make, leave them below too. Talk to you later, guys.